What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of the Passion Project podcast. This is a very special episode featuring Dr. Amir Tarighpeyma. He is a top hair transplant surgeon, an entrepreneur, and a professor of entrepreneurship and economics at one of the best business schools in Europe, i.e. University Madrid. With regards to his profession, he is the managing director of Grupo Estetica Medica and the director of the medicine and hair transplant unit of Hospital Quirón Infanta Luisa. This episode is packed with knowledge and shatters all your preconceived notions about hair. If you want to skip to the main body of the podcast, I'd recommend you to go down to the description and go to the timestamps and click on podcast introduction. That is when the podcast actually begins, and that's when the guest comes in, and that's when we start conversing with the guest. Right after this segment, we're going to be hosting the waiting room, and the waiting room is that when me and Niels just chat. It's like a warm up before the podcast. We just chill out. We talk about stuff that the guest is specialized in. We talk about the guest. We talk about the topics we're going to discuss. And it can be like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But if you want to skip that part, feel free to skip that part and go directly to the podcast.
Again, people, welcome to another episode of the Passion Project podcast. And obviously, we always start with the waiting room. So welcome to the waiting room where we just chat, where we just talk about stuff. And yeah, so today's topic, today's guest knows a lot about hair, and which is something that I'm sure many people can relate to because everybody listening right now probably has
hair.
Amount of hair. Yeah, so I'm sure that we could deliver some knowledge to you guys and all you guys out there maybe who maybe a little bit insecure about your hair or want to strengthen it, want to improve or something. I'm sure that there's definitely going to be something here for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely. And I think like this topic is like, it's a very niche based topic. Like not a lot of people talk about hair, and it's very unlikely that you're going to have like an entire podcast that is dedicated to this field, you know. It's very, it's very niche based. So yeah, I think we're going to start off by, we can just like analyze hairstyles of the past, you know, and we can talk about it that way.
Exactly. Let's do it.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, and so men hairstyles over the years.
Do the second one, the black and white one. Let's see what we have here. Okay,
look, 1960s.
It's gone through lots of evolutions. Like there was a point like in the 70s and stuff where guys and girls had the exact same haircut. Like if you type in 70s hairstyles for men and women, they looked identical. It's crazy yeah, everybody had that haircut. Men and women had this type of haircut.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I'm not feeling it, to be honest. But I feel like it's making like a resurgence at the moment, this type of haircut, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people at IE, in the university that have this haircut. Yeah, definitely. Look at that hairstyle.
Yeah, this is obviously, I mean, it doesn't get more iconic than this hairstyle. Isn't that the actor from Pirates of the Caribbean?
Oh wait, which one?
The one in the red shirt with the absolute. Oh no, I thought that was
no.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, Johnny Depp, right?
Let's check out the 90s.
You know Harrison Ford, like from Star Wars. His hairstyle was pretty famous when Star Wars came out, like probably again in the 1980s or 1990s. Yeah.
Yeah. This is obviously coming back. Like the first one, the Brad Pitt one.
Yeah.
That's obviously coming back. Lots of Leonardo DiCaprio, David Beckham. Yeah, this is already becoming. And I mean, if you go down to Will Smith, that was a big 90s haircut. That's the classic. I actually modeled my haircut back in year.
Gotta put it up, bro.
Or year 10. Let's see.
Damn.
This was the style. This was back in school. So, but it's like obviously
hard to maintain. Is it hard to maintain?
I mean, Yeah, it is pretty hard to maintain. Yeah, because like you need it needs to be clean at all times because this doesn't it doesn't wave in the wind. It's up all the time. So there's not much. So it has to be clean. I basically wash it almost every day.
Every day, right?
And obviously if you don't comb it, if you don't pick it with the Afro pick, you can't, it just looks terrible.
Right.
A huge amount. I mean, Will Smith, he must have gone like a haircut every single week, at least.
Otherwise, it looks out of shape, right? Otherwise,
Exactly.
it's out of shape.
Out perfectly, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the spiky hair. That's that like I don't know who had the spiky hair, but I feel like that was like one of those haircuts
that's when I think the use of products became very like prominent. You know, everyone was using product. They wanted to get it all spiked up.
Yeah.
You know? Like
also when people had the bleach tips, I think they call them frosted tips. I think.
Right.
Terrible there.
These are the most famous ones. Yeah. Teen mop up, Justin Bieber.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was at one point in time, this was the most like popular haircut.
Yeah.
Like,
you know this top knot thing that's become very famous right now. Like there's so
right now, I feel like this was like 2015. Like,
really?
I don't. You don't really see that often anymore. I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, but like I've seen like a couple of people like in my Swiss school that had this kind of top knot thing. One of my Russian friends has it right now. And yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of time because you got to grow your hair out like a lot. And then after that, you get it like set up like this, you know, and then you have a little thing. And then there's the fade.
Obviously.
Fade is very, very common.
Fade.
I've had the fade a couple of times.
Yeah, I have the fade every single week. Yeah, I don't know who originated it because I feel like I don't know if it's because like if you watch the have you watched the Peaky Blinders before?
I've watched like one episode and then
they don't really fade it. They just go straight, just nothing, just zero on the sides. But like I feel like
also at the back, like it ends somewhere here. You know, it's not a low thing. Like
oh yeah, it goes all the way up, way up.
Yeah,
like the top knot guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fades just make everything look a lot more clean and a lot more.
And then there's the undercut. This one's also
I remember that. That's not that common anymore. I feel like this is like a
undercut. I got it like 2 or 3 years back. I experimented with this, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to the fade, but it's just more. I mean, there's more hair.
We're gonna need a picture of that, G. I think we're gonna need a picture of you with an undercut. We'll edit it.
If I find it, we'll edit it in for sure. Man bun. This one's a lot of hair, man. This one's a lot of hair.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not that high maintenance. Well, it doesn't look very high maintenance.
This is like a classic side part. You know this thing? It's like the guy who goes to his corporate job every day. He's like really formal and like
everybody had side parts back in the day. Even if you didn't have like the hair for it, like everybody had it. It was like a must back in the day, like in the 30s or like 20s or whatever. That's heavy. Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go. These cuts are important. Yeah, let's see what else. This was actually. Do you remember will.i.am? will.i.am also had a side part. It wasn't this extreme, but
yeah.
That is a proper high top.
That's crazy, man. That's
whoa. Yeah. Oh, Snoop Dogg. Okay. I feel like this really hasn't really made a resurgence. I feel like
the very
back soon, I'm sure, but I mean,
I think maybe because of the high maintenance, right?
Yeah, maybe that. This is.
Oh, Jaden Smith? No way.
Yeah. Wasn't that back in
when you did Karate Kid?
Yeah, Karate Kid.
Probably after that.
That was one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched.
You watched like the old Karate Kid, the one with.
No, I haven't. I've only watched the Will Smith one.
You should watch it, bro. It's good.
The Will Smith one. I think I watched this about 15 times at least. I love that movie. I started karate because of Karate Kid. Yeah. Whoa, that is a mad cut. The guy on the side, on the left.
That one?
That is a mad cut. It's straight up just like a cat that just laid sideways on your head.
Yeah.
That is a mad cut. If we reach a big feat with our podcast, who knows? Maybe we'll both color our hair or something.
Yeah, man. Who knows? We're getting a real doctor, a real hair transplant surgeon.
Yeah. See, guys, we're not small time anymore. We're getting a real doctor, son.
Yeah. And this is definitely not his first interview. Medical clinic or whatever has been featured in like magazines and stuff.
Ah, okay. I thought like he's been interviewed by other podcasts. I was gonna think.
Oh,
like,
no. I don't think other podcasts, like probably other like news.
Yeah, that makes sense. But like, yeah.
Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Amir Tarighpeyma.
Thank you. Thank you for
inviting me. Did I get your last name correctly?
Tarighpeyma, that's okay. Nobody gets it, so
right,
I'm used to it.
Commonly referred to as Mr. T.
Mr. T, yes.
Yes.
That is indeed.
When we first started researching you, obviously your brother told me that you were his professor. But then when I first saw that you were actually a doctor, and then you were also a hair transplant doctor, it was something that amazed me, because like it's not a very common type of doctor that I've met like day to day. And I think my first question to you would be, because obviously you help loads of people, with men and women with hair loss and the aesthetic side of their appearance and stuff like that. Would you say that confidence can be bought with money? Just to
confidence can be bought with mind. You mean if the mind can buy confidence?
Yeah, if money. Yeah, exactly.
If money can buy confidence.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think money gives you a false sense of confidence, which is very easy to see. You see it in people. I mean, with all due respect, I mean, I'm one of those people who, I teach economics, so therefore I'm a big fan of free market economy. So if anyone can earn their money, yeah, go ahead. I'm all for that. Another thing is the people who get this sense of power, which always you can see it. You can see it whenever you talk to them. You can see it when, I've never seen someone who has money, at least me. It's my own experience. How the money would pass that confidence to the rest of the world. Another thing is you admire them, or you decide that you can be that person. But the confidence itself is never conveyed. That's my impression. I've never got confidence. You see, it's natural. It's something inside you, and also you can also learn to be confident as you move on. Right. I think the most important element of confidence, and I'm sorry to expand so much in this case, is education. I think when someone I continue studying. I'm 54 years old. I study all my life. Yuvraj can tell you. I mean, every time I talk, I started being aesthetic doctor, a general practitioner, aesthetic doctor, from the field of surgery, of course, but then I moved into the whole area of hair transplant. So it's something you have it inside you. And of course, studies, education is what gets you there, clearly. I mean, I've seen people with no money at all, but tremendously confident.
Yeah, and now I would like to, obviously, since, I mean, you're a doctor, I would love to, and very specialized at that, I would love to just go over the kind of steps that should be taken when it comes to hair, because I'm sure that some people.
You mean taking care of the hair? Is that
no? But when it comes to if, for example, you're insecure about maybe losing hair or your hairline or something like that, just because I'm sure that people listening right now, maybe they're insecure about it or something, don't want to reach out or something. Just the steps from first realizing, oh, okay, so the I'm receding, and so you don't have to actually, because you said it's the last resort. Getting an actual transplant is the last resort. So just from first noticing it, what can be done, what preventative measures are there and stuff like that?
Sure. Good question. Niels, look, falling hair is a normal issue. There are twice in the year, okay, in autumn, which is a very principal, and in spring, hair falls more than necessary. So one of the things I need to think is, where am I right now and what season am I? If I'm in spring and if it's in autumn, it's normal. Okay, it's absolutely normal. Another thing is what type of shampoos I use. Look, cosmetic shampoos are cosmetic. That means they're meant to make the hair look good, but they're not nutritional. So one of the things I need to look into is what happens when I put cosmetic or supermarket shampoos. I notice that if I touch my scalp, it's greasy. Okay, grease is not a good thing for the hair. It's a way of protecting the scalp, but it's not good for the hair. So what I need to do is make sure that my hair is clean, not too greasy, and also I should not wash hair with hot water. Hot water is not a good thing to wash the hair with. Everyone thinks they do.
Okay.
But it's logical. Look, in the scalp is 34 degrees. I mean, 34 degrees Celsius is what the temperature of the scalp is. So if I raise that temperature above 34, grease is just going to be, it's going to be made. It's going to be launched.
Cold showers are better. Cold showers.
I mean, look, cold shower is nothing pleasant, but it is logical that you must segregate or must separate into two parts. One is the body and one is the hair. Whenever I get into the shower for the first time, you walk into a shower, you take a shower, you got enough grease around the hair, so that's going to protect you. The very moment that you wash your hair with shampoo and you want to clear that shampoo off, you want to rinse it off, then the temperature of the water should be mild temperature to cold. Why? Because if not, just more grease is going to be produced, and that's where you find that more grease in the hair. Now, one thing that people tend to ask me is that, what happens if my hair is shiny? Shiny hair is not a healthy hair. Shiny hair is a hair that either has silicone or it has a lot of grease. So this is something you must get out of your head. Hair, the hair fiber is opaque, is not glossy. Glossy is because there's something over it. So you must understand that. Don't forget that what they show you on television is a different story. Okay, that beautiful shiny hair, that is for cosmetic or commercial purposes, not for hair transfer. So that's the first thing. Also, as Niels was asking me, if my hair is falling, I have to see if it's on the pillow, on the clothes, or if I'm combing and the hair comes out, it tends to be nutritional. There's a nutritional deficit. Very important. If it falls on the pillow, on the hair, on the clothes, it tends to be more of a hormonal background. Okay. Now, more up to hair pieces, up to those pieces of fiber, up to 100 units is completely normal. Do I count them? Many people count them, believe it or not. They count how many hair falls out. But during the day, you must have about 100 of them. If 100 of them falls, is absolutely normal. What happens if I do this and there's a hair receding? Age matters, okay? But if you tend to observe that receding of the hair, it's not because your hair has fallen. It's because the hair has been what we call, you got a skinny hair. And as a result of that, you need to see a specialist. If you see a specialist, then the specialist can solve certain problems. But just don't look it up every time you go like this and you say, oh, I got a receding hair. This is normal, etc. It's not normal. Receding hair is not normal. It also has to do with the age.
Wow. So that's definitely, the cold water thing is definitely a big tip, because I feel like, at least when I wash my hair or something, it feels like it's more effective when it's warm water, because it feels like everything's working better. So
no, it's not.
If I use like Head and Shoulders as a shampoo, that obviously.
Well, let's not use commercial names.
Oh, okay.
Because you know what I mean. Yeah. If I say that, they're gonna say I've jumped again.
Okay.
Like anything in the supermarket, okay. Any shampoo in the supermarket is not appropriate.
What would you recommend?
I won't say brands. I mean, I would. Look. There's several brands. The one I use and my patients use, I can tell you that it's called Secretos del Agua. Okay, it's called, you can get it in Spain. It's a small company, okay, but it's now growing so fast. In my experience, from what I have seen, because I used to work with the brand, another French brand, and what I did is I stopped working with them because I just saw such fantastic results just by changing the habit of a patient. the hair loss is reduced by 50%. And the reason for that is very simple, because people think this is some magical issue. It's not. On the scalp, right on top of the scalp, you got pH approximately about 5. Okay, it's a pH 5. It's very acid. The only reason that we don't notice it is because it mixed with the fat, with the grease. So you don't notice it if it hurts. It doesn't hurt. But one of the ideas of that so-called pH is to protect it against the bacteria. So that's a logical behavior. The moment I use a commercial shampoo, I am neutralizing that pH, which is common sense, because cosmetic shampoo, or I would say in the supermarket, it's very base. This is chemistry base. When you mix base with pH, you create basically salt. But that's why it's salty. That's why people think it's salty. And the reason is not it's salty. It's simply, you neutralize that pH. And from that moment you neutralize it, the hair gets affected drastically. That's why you got to be careful with shampoo. Also, one other issue, you got to wash your hair every day. With that, the shampoo have said it. One of the biggest mistakes we make is we wash our hair every 3 days. Don't get me wrong. A young woman who has got long hair, or not so much of a, elder woman, it's logical that they do it every 2-3 days, because taking care of a long hair is very difficult. But I always recommend my patients 2 days maximum. So they all learn to wash their hair every 2 days. Young men in general, every day. With the shampoo I told you, it's called Secretos del Agua, which is you can go over internet and you can get them. They send it to you. It's not a cheap shampoo. It's expensive, but it's expensive because they know what they're doing. And I personally enjoyed the most out of this shampoo simply because it maintains a very vital element on the hair.
Wow, because again, this is something when me and your brother were preparing, we were talking about our different how we wash our hair and stuff like that. And your brother said every single day. I said, what? I always hear that it's bad for your hair to wash your hair every single day, and that I wash it every 2 days or something. And I thought that that's the proper way to do it, but obviously every day, but with the right shampoo.
With the right shampoo, you got it. If you wash it with cosmetic, you're better off every 5 days, man. If you're with a cosmetic or a commercial, you're better off every 5 days. You don't want to. It's like in a. I always put this example. It's like a swimming pool. Like if you change that pH, everything just swaps around in a swimming pool. Bacteria, you got it gets dirty. You can't swim in it, etc. The same thing happens with the skin. Because I come from aesthetic background. Before being a hair specialist, I've always worked as a specialist in aesthetic medicine, and the skin on over here on the forearm is the same as skin on the face is the same. The same thing, the same principles, and that's why you got to take care of the way. We wash our face every day, with a nice neutral soap. We should do the same thing with the hair, but with the right shampoo. And never look. One thing also for our listeners, never try to, when you got a long hair, never. Girls do that a lot. They tend to comb their hair like they were stranded off. That's not. There's a type of alopecia. There's a type of hair fall that is called by traction. That means if I pull the hair, or we see it young in African generation, we see it a lot, especially in young girls who do these locks and they pull it up. I have some cases. I have about 3 or 4 patients from different 2 countries in Africa, one in Central Africa, and the other one I think is South African. And basically, what they do is they start finding out they had a lot of hair loss, especially on the first line, the front line. And the reason is because they're pulling it back so hard. When you do that, the follicles, what keeps the hair, gets a message that you're pulling the hair that way. So they start producing. They do exactly opposite as what is expected. So when you comb your hair or you brush your hair, you should be very gentle, because if you pull it, the impression they have, at least the scalp, is that you're pulling the hair and they start producing. And this is a very common procedure. brushing the hair hard is not a sign of being healthy. Brushing the scalp is being healthy, but brushing the hair down hard, and apart from the depression they get when they see all that hair, it's logical. It's logical.
Yeah. What do you think about the use of product? Because nowadays a lot of people use product or wax to like set their hair up. So I mean, I'm assuming it's really bad because I've never used product, but
Wax is the worst thing you can put on hair, and I tell you why. And I tell you why. Wax produces what we call let me use the like a helmet effect. When motorcycle riders, when they put up the helmet, a lot of hair begins to fall. And the reason is because the temperature inside the scalp rises and the hair needs to breathe. Okay, the scalp needs to breathe, but that's a logical behavior. The same thing happens with wax. You put a big coat of wax over your hair, it starts producing a lot of grease, and on top of that, people then they wash it with hot water to clean it, rinse it off, which is the worst combination you can have. Right. So if you ever want to put some wax on, which still people do what they have to do. Okay, no matter what I say, if you want to do it, this is the advice I give you. If you were going to use, first of all, you like to use this strong wax. The stronger it is, the more damaging it is to hair. So use a mild wax, and second, with your hands, with water, and then put some, and then use that wax, whatever you put, little amount, and then comb your hair. End of story. The more wax you put this large gulp of wax over, worst thing you can do. And people touch it in their scalp, etc. Everything.
Oh, wow. I mean, I feel like everything that we know about like hair and hair care has just been kind of shattered, to be honest. Because like, for example, I used to have a high top. So it used to tangle loads. So I would always properly, obviously with a pick, I would go properly hard. And I thought the harder I do it, the more effective I am. And
unfortunately,
yeah,
my good Niels, unfortunately it's not. And I'll tell you why, because the scalp is about 1 millimeter thick in the front, up to almost 8 millimeters, the back of the neck. So in that area, you have all the follicles you can possibly imagine. They're about 200 to 300 per square centimeter. So if you take that and you pull it, you're not only pulling one hair, or you're pulling everything. The follicle is extremely sensitive. One of my colleagues at IE once suggested I should go to the university and speak to the to the youngsters, to everyone, all the students about advice on hair. And I asked him, why would I do that? And he said, because you will be how damaging some of those hairs look, because people just, another thing we tend to blow dry it at a very low distance just to make that hair look wonderful. Anything you do, the hair reacts. Whatever you do, you put a lot of heat, the hair reacts. You put all these chemicals, it reacts. That's why my office, let me give you a statistics that you're going to be very, very surprised. When I started officially the hair restoration unit about 4 years ago, approximately, I had about 2 patients a day. 4 years ago, 2 patients a day. I have 30 patients a day today.
Wow.
30 patients. Multiply that by 5 days, 150 patients a week of people who just come to get an advice, just people who get treated. I would say half of that will get treated, or maybe 30% of that. Mm-hmm. But the number of people who are concerned about their hair is literally increasing by minutes, by hours. And the reason is because we have more and more, and this Instagram culture of beautiful hair looking is directly proportional to the number of patients that I'm having in my office. So I'm going to put all these chemicals on my hair just to look wonderful. And then in 2-3 years time, 4 or 5, whatever it is, I would have to visit the hair restoration specialist.
Sure. While we're talking about this, could you do a quick virtual hair analysis for me and Niels?
I don't think you guys need it. You're fine.
Oh, good.
From the pictures, I mean, from the image, you guys look good.
Okay, that's good.
I'm gonna change my shampoo though because I bought mine from the supermarket.
Never. Look, like you spend money on going out, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
You have no problem spending money with friends. Why do you have a problem with spending money on something that is so normal? I always say that how I have a lot of young patients. Of the 20, 30 young patients I have, I would say half of them are young. And I always tell them, like, Sam, how much money do you spend on clothes? And it's outrageous, the amount of money they spend. But again, or on their telephones. Why don't you spend that on something that is more, less corrosive for your hair? We tend to get our facts wrong.
Yeah, true. So what would you say about diet? Because obviously diet also plays a key role in your hair growth and your hair formation. So like, what are the small changes people can make in their diets?
You won't like it. Yuvraj, what I have to say, you won't like it. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
that is a look. Coca-Cola, any soft drinks that got a lot of sugar are quite damaging for the hair, and I tell you why. I haven't drunk a cola drink for the last 8 years now. Not because I don't like it; it's delicious. The problem is that sugar, when it starts increasing, the blood vessels in the hair, especially those who are smokers also, alcohol, these are elements that affect the blood vessels very much. Does that mean that everyone who drinks will going to have a hair loss? No, obviously not. But it increases the probability, all right, the percentage. You must understand this. I ask my patients a lot of what do they have. Usually we have a false tendency, we have a false idea that we eat well. We don't eat well. This is a reality. We don't eat well. And we have a false identity that we have antioxidants. BBC launched a program saying that nothing changes because of having antioxidants. Nothing, absolutely not. What changes is the number of sugar rich drinks that we have. The more sugar rich drinks you have, the greater is the chance of all different types of infections in the body, including the hair loss. Mm-hmm. All right. So my advice to you is, I'm going to tell you something, you might thought that is not true, but coffee does a lot of benefit to the hair because it helps coffee itself helps the blood, the transportation of nutrients, etc. Mild, 1 or 2 cups, okay, not 3 or 4 or 5, okay, but no smoking. Smoking does more damage to hair loss, and there's a direct relationship with smoking and hair loss. Okay,
right. And also, like, I know there are a lot of people who prefer to take supplements instead of fixing the diet. Like they'll probably take a pill of biotin or like any other like vitamins or minerals to fix their hair. But do you think there's a quick fix to this, or it has to be like dietary changes?
Well, here's what happens. One of the things that supplements are good. Don't get me wrong, like biotin, etc. But in the right nutrients, etc. It's necessary. It's important, but not the overdose, because people think the more they have, the better. That's not true. All right. One, the recommended amount is perfect. I think it's logical and it doesn't do any damage. But there's one thing that does concern me. And when we have supplements, we have a false feeling that we are protected. And when the hair begins to fall and people come to see me, look, I would say 99% of my patients, when they have a hair loss, when they come, the first thing they do is they have a supplement in the pharmacy. This is okay. But because of that supplement, they stop visiting a specialist or they stop paying attention to the issue. So the answer is yes, have supplement, but keep in mind that there are other things that are, you're better off washing your hair properly. You're better off not to have sugar drinks, okay, than having supplements.
So you would say just to get back to the point where you realize that you're receding, maybe you would say for most people, go to a doctor, check it, and ask them to check it out for you, so
Well,
you know what measures to take?
people would think that this is there's a call for everyone to visit the hair restoration specialist. No, I'm just saying that if you take certain measures, there's no need to visit a specialist. Most people come and visit, but it is true that we're there in case people need us. All right. This doesn't mean, I don't have vitro, I have no slot in my office to visit, to see more people. But just like me, there are a lot of my colleagues who are having more and more visitors. It is true that also sometimes they visit you due to a false alarm. All right. Again, there's certain steps that we need to follow. Number one, which season am I in? Am I in autumn? Am I in spring? That's normal. Second, up to 100 pieces, 100 hair units or hair pieces that fall is absolutely normal. Third, the type of shampoo I wash my hair with. Supermarket shampoos are not appropriate. Look, I'm going to give you an anecdote, okay? This, you can do it at home because you guys live on your own. I tell my patients, in order for them to understand how these shampoos work, is that take a jumper, any jumper you want, now it's cold, and then put it in the washing machine and a bit of drop of your cosmetic shampoo or whatever. And what you're going to see is that, and you wash it as normal, right? Instead of you put detergent, put a bit of shampoo. Remember that they have a lot of sulfate, and as a result of that, it's going to be a lot of bubbles. So be careful with that. Be careful. When you put that and then you wash your jumper, when it comes out, it's spongy. It's lovely. And because those shampoos, the way they have been dealt with, they can wash anything. Or they can wash absolutely anything. I'm not joking. It's not trying to be funny. Do it. Making sure that a bit of drop makes a lot of bubbles, so you cannot make so much foam. But if you add just a spoon, you're going to see a beautiful, smells wonderful, it's spongy, everything. So that's the cosmetic shampoo we're talking about.
Wow, something we all should try out.
Well, careful, because people, they just add the shampoo and they add the same amount of detergent and poof. No, be careful. Be careful what you do. Very little amount, just to see, and do it hand wash to even make it better.
How big is the genetic component? Are you doomed to lose your hair because your dad and granddad lost their hair? Or
no?
Can you make changes now so that it doesn't even come to that point?
One of the things that we've noticed in our practice every day, that the genetic component does matter. There is what we call alopecia, androgenetic alopecia. That is something that has to do with testosterone. We see that a lot in people whose brothers, fathers, grandfathers have. There's a higher probability. All right. There's a higher probability. So when they start seeing, I have reverted alopecias. I have right now cases of reverted alopecias whose fathers or grandfathers. But one thing that we have to keep in mind is, what are the expectations? One of them say, I want to have hair like you. And I said, look, you can't have hair like me because you've lost so much. I had much more hair when I was younger. I have less, but I protect it right now. My father wasn't bald, but it's true that my father had severe interest right here. I don't, because I protect it. But I do measure to see if I have areas of fall. The probability rises, just like any disease. There's a higher probability. But because your father is bald doesn't mean you're going to be bald for sure. It means that you have a higher probability. So when we have someone whose father is bald, they start showing symptoms at the younger age. And that's when they start visiting specialists. So yes, the answer is there's a strong component of genetic relationship, genetic link between father and son or grandfather and son. And there are other types of alopecia that we're not going to talk about, which are what we call scarring alopecia. With them, there's a direct link. Okay, scarring alopecia, like what we call areata alopecia. Okay, well, we have big spots all over. Those are different types of alopecia. The general common alopecia is the one we see in elder patients. We see them in women, elder women, but I also have younger patients. who younger female patients where I can see them. I'm beginning to detect them very much. But
Yeah, so like when people come to you and like let's say they have like hair problems, like they have a receding hairline or something like that, and they get it fixed with a hair transplant, do you think that makes a difference in their confidence?
well, the first thing I need to point out is that for me, hair transplant, the surgery itself is a last resort. And the reason of that is that that's covering a aesthetic solution, not the problem itself. But yeah, when people actually get back what they have lost or what they're losing, please keep in mind that when someone loses their hair, especially men or women, that makes no difference in this case. Especially women are more keen because that long hair that takes a lot of caring. Men obviously care less for their hair as women do, but the loss itself is a trauma, is an absolute tragedy for some people. So the first thing we do is making sure that has a solution, whether medical or surgical. And if it does have a solution, what we can do. Look, I'll tell you a case anecdote that I think you're going to like. Recently, because, I'm the head of the hair restoration unit of Seville Hospital. And when I was there, she came and, she was crying all the way long, crying and crying and crying. And I just told her, calm down, that no, because I've lost my hair. We were talking about a 25-year-old patient. And she said, what, if I can't find a solution, I'm going to kill myself. Now that was very, very shocking to me because I think that's but coming to see her background, I mean, she was a fashion model. Coming to see that background, then I understood how severe the problem was. So yeah, we see severe cases. And we see cases, yes, I will say confidence very much in hair restoration gives them back what they've lost.
So to an extent, you could say that confidence, because I mean, for so many people, it's such an issue, such a strong, so much of their self-esteem relies on their appearance, obviously. And if you can buy improvements to your appearance, in a way, you could buy your self-confidence, right?
True, that would be the idea. But here's what happens. We're in a culture of selfies. You know that. I mean, this is nothing new. Everyone. I'm not a big fan of selfies, and I tell you what, because I'm not from that culture. But I understand what people are doing right now. I mean, you can't blame someone. What I would blame is when someone spends more time on selfie than being productive. That's what I would blame. But other than that, most people find their problems when they start looking into that screen. I've seen cases of people coming in and you ask them why, how'd you find out you were losing hair? Because the first appearance is that you have a lot of hair. So no, because I've realized, men and women, I would say more percentage in women than men, but they tend to take the camera, they take they put it this way, you've seen it, how people do it. And that's when you see the top of your head, which you've never paid attention to. And that's when you realize there's something. I would say people realize, and then that's where the confidence starts to crumble, okay? And that's where the confidence begins to fall. They say, wait, maybe I'm not as perfect as I thought I am, or maybe I thought I'm better looking than I am. But yeah. So I would say when they come, they're looking for that missing confidence. Absolutely.
I think also like social media and like constantly comparing yourself to other people in terms of appearance or hair growth or whatever, I think that just makes it worse. Like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like adding salt to the wound,
You are. And in case, one of the major things that I have come across, and I tend to tell that to my students, although it's not the issue of, or at least not the topic of the conversations in class. But one of the things I tell them is like, look, we all got our own battles to win. I mean, this is a reality that will never change. And I was a kid, my father used to say, my mother used to say that, and basically what we do is there is an issue of insecurity in all of us that we tend to project the way we dress, the way our hair looks, etc. So when you start losing hair, those insecurities come up again. It says, well, what happens if this, and also another issue, the enigma of whether I'm going to recuperate or I won't recuperate. This is something that I think is also devastating, especially in young people. In elder people, well, yeah, there's something that they can handle because also we become more mature as time goes by, we become wiser. But in younger people where they're involved in this whole issue of comparing themselves, etc., anything that breaks this so-called equilibrium destroys their confidence and they come down depressed, not being, in the right state of mind, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I see. I also become a psychologist. This is another thing. We also become psychologists. Hair restoration specialists are also psychologists.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at, because obviously our generation is very sensitive about all this stuff with the appearance wise. But when I think back to maybe like the 30s, men wore toupees, right? So there was this insecurity with regards to hair. Is not something new, right?
True. I totally agree with you. Yes, it was insecure, but don't forget that was that generation was what we call a group insecurity. Okay, when you put a toupee within the group, everyone was wearing a toupee, so you wouldn't see that much of a difference. No, you would see people were actually moving in gangs, the way they dress, etc. Today, people don't dress in the same way. I mean, at least this is my opinion. I don't see people dressing the same way. They dress very nicely. That is true. But there is no kind of like a cultural issue. I mean, you don't see people wearing jeans, and this is a culture of jeans. That we had those cultures, etc. Today we have this individualism. The problem is, and I think this individualism is being diluted very, very quickly, and it's becoming diluted very quickly in the sense of how other people think of me. You see, before, what people thought of my group or let's say my gang. If you want to fight with one, you would go fight with everyone. No, this was the idea of the 30s. Today, it's, there's a whole concept of what do people think of me all the time. It's a 360 questionnaire. It's you turn around in every direction. How do people think? I mean, this is one of the things I clash along with students because I'm from a different, I think, generation, no? I'm not saying better or worse. I'm just saying a different generation. My generation was more hungry. It was a hungrier generation, hungry to become better and to get to the top, et cetera, et cetera. Today's generation is not so long because we offered them so many things that we didn't have them in the past. Look, I was telling my daughter the other day, I said, look, you get a 77-inch plasma TV. Back in the 80s, you never even thought about it. It was just an incredible thing. In the 2000, a plasma TV, 42-inch plasma TV would cost about 12,000 euros, more or less. Today, you can get one for 700 euros. So all these things are now available to the youngsters. So they don't have to worry about these things. They don't have to worry about fighting. And we're talking about our generation, the one we see day to day. Obviously, if we go to more underdeveloped or developing economies, things change a lot. But again, we are in a society where things are much more available. In my case, it wasn't like that. And we had to be more worried about other things. We had to be careful. It's like, today's generation is, I would say, yes, they want a better job, better whatever. But first is the individualism in the sense of, what do people think of me? No? And then I'll get to that point. No? So I think it's generational gap has changed. Things have changed a lot.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like also the fact that you were talking about that in your generation, people were like more hungry. They were hungrier to work more and be more productive because the resources were very scarce, right? And so my question is that, do you think right now, like this generation has become, I wouldn't say lazier, but like a little counterproductive or a little too comfortable because of too many resources? And do you think that that's had an effect on our minds and our lives, like psychologically?
I would look today, at least it's an opinion, please take it as an opinion. Today, I don't see so many youngsters have this general knowledge. Don't get me wrong, a general knowledge is a good thing. But if I ask in class something that is just common sense, news, everyday news. I mean, how many youngsters sit down and, they read the news? What does that matter anymore? What's happening on the other side of the world? It only matters when it affects us, when it's right here. This concern, we never worried about any pandemia. When I used to give class about pandemias, it was an old thing. It was a past thing. Pandemia, what's that? And suddenly it hit us so hard that we're still recuperating, not from that pandemia, but from the consequences of the pandemia. The pandemia itself continues to be a concern there. It's going to happen again. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Today's generation has other priorities. We had the priority of worried about news to make us better in our job. You know, this super specialization that we so much talked about was a phenomenon that happened in the 80s, happened in the 90s, 2000, 2010, and then it disappeared. Nobody wants to be super specialized anymore. They, you know, we talk about multitasking, etc. All I got to do is ask my students, well, what do you know about this? And my surprise is huge, is massive. You know, they don't know what I'm talking about, which is concerning, because don't forget that we live in a globalized world. And this is something that we tend to forget. The pandemic happens because there's a globalization. This globalization also means that we should know about, we don't know so much about other people. I mean, you ask the generation today, what do they know about certain identities? And they don't. We had to learn that because we knew that our whole so-called, our job, our product depended on those people. You know, ignoring India, ignoring China. This happened in the 40s, 50s. You talk about China, you talk about India. It was over there, you know, it's down there. You know, today, so many things are happening in China and India, and yet we don't know much about them. And it's a pity because we've got so much information around us, but yet we're not worried. And this is something that concerns me, you know, the day to day. You know, you talk about the belt that China is making around the world, all the way that goes all the way through Asia to get, and people don't know what I'm talking about, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. So a lot to take in. I mean, it's a fact that a lot of people right now are very ill-informed, you know, even though we have so many sources of information. I mean, there is consumption, but consumption is like dopamine consumption, like scrolling through Instagram and stuff and taking like small stories in, and it's not the most efficient, and it's definitely not the most productive way to consume information, you know. I just feel like reading a book, for example, or at least reading something that has a certain depth of knowledge, a certain storehouse of knowledge that can help you gain like at least foundations of a knowledge or something like that will be far more beneficial than just scrolling through Instagram.
Oh, absolutely. Look, the opinions you might have about Instagram, they're so various, they're so generational, they're so, I mean, today I do Instagram for my work. If you enter them, you know why? Because I was forced by my social media manager to do it.
Yeah.
And said, yo, you got to give it some time. Where do you want me to give it some time? This was my question. How on earth do you want me to go ahead and take a picture? This is a thing. People, and take this please as a constructive criticism. If we don't know about what's happening around us, there's no way we will be worried about, we will solve that self-confidence. Because look, to gain self-confidence, all you got to do is look around you. All right. When I talk with people who are, let's say, who have a lot of confidence, I feel like that. I feel empowered. I don't feel empowered next to people who have money.
Yeah.
When you're next to people who have money, you feel that you need to earn more. That's not what I want. You want to feel empowered in terms of information, culture. Look, I don't say this is the most interesting in the planet. There are so many things to do. All right. But it is true that we need that interaction that is not so much as what a friend of mine once said was so superficial. And you see that confidence that you see, and I see it in my office, that confidence just barely shatters in every single piece. I mean, I have patients from all different so-called social backgrounds you can possibly imagine. Many of them are young people. When they come and then they tell me, oh, I got Instagram, etc. So doctor, you got to see my Instagram. You go and, you know, this person has 2 million followers. 2 million followers. I have 800. That's all I got. 2 million. And yet, if people knew what's behind this fragile confidence, they would think it twice. You know, when we are behind the screen, we tend to create an idea of a person that doesn't coincide with reality. And this goes back a long time ago when we used to talk over the phone with someone, or let's say, you remember, you guys, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the blind dates were very much in fashion in the 80s. You know, there was a blind date. They even made movies about blind dates, et cetera, et cetera. This is what happened. You know, blind dates created a false impression of the other person's features, characteristics, personality, physical side. The same thing happens now with Instagram. With all due respect to all the ones who want to follow Instagram, But when we look at someone's pictures, what is it that we are actually perceiving? We perceive someone who's very confident, someone who's got the best life, someone who visits the best places in the world, someone who has the best dog, someone who has the best car, etc. When you meet them, you'll be shocked as how fragile these people are.
That's
I actually find that very, like, I feel like there's also something that also our listeners have to hear, just to go a bit further into the person, without obviously keeping them anonymous with the millions of followers. How big was the discrepancy, like between what they conveyed on Instagram compared to in real life? What was this person like?
Well, we're talking about the person I was mentioning before, about 2 million followers, etc.
With the followers, yeah.
Well, here's what happens. This person, usually these people are very critics with their own image. These people. I'll tell you what my impression is. Okay, people might disagree with me, and I totally agree with that. But I'll tell you what my impression is, because I've dealt with this patient for over a year now. So I'm learning so much about this false sense of security of Instagram. From what I have perceived and what I have understood is this person gets up early in the morning around 6 a.m. This person goes to university, but 6 a.m. This person, and I'm not going to use whether it's a male or female, this person, if I did before, I'm sorry, it wasn't my intention, but this person gets up, gets ready, etc., etc. And from the very moment they measure exactly how everything is settled, the hair, the face, the clothes, etc. They even think about what the plans are for today. What am I going to do? What am I going to project? Look, you ask me right now, what am I going to publish by the month? I'm just going to smile because I don't know what I'm going to do by the month. But these people have perfectly envisioned what they're going to do, which is okay. I think this is how we gain the productivity we're expecting, which is 2 million followers or even more or whatever. Because then these people compare themselves with the one who has 5 million followers. So all I got to do is, what am I going to do now to make it better? And the very moment this whole perfect vision is destroyed because they see a gap right in the middle of the hair, right here, it breaks everything. And then instead of finding a plan B, what they do is they break down because there is no plan B. And this is another thing I have realized. When you're so involved into making this perfect world that you want everyone to admire, there is no plan B. And that's when depression appears. That's when they come to people like me and they say, look, I'm going to shoot myself. I'm going to kill myself. And they're not joking. You can see it in their eyes that this is an element of, in Instagram, there are a lot of suicides in the United States. People who don't get enough likes, or people who get too few likes, or people who are not getting the likes at the end of the month or whatever. I don't know how this thing works. For me, it's a fantastic. Don't have this plan B. That's where their whole world breaks down. And what happens is that it's like throwing a stone in the water. Right? Imagine that stone falls in the water and opens up a wave. The impact at the beginning is them. Okay, they fall, that's a stone. But then everything around them just falls apart, So, but you will never see that on Instagram. Given some subject, I said, it doesn't matter. I said, no, because in the end, I'm going to earn a lot of money through Instagram. There is no sense of what happens if I don't make it. If I don't have studies, that's okay. I'm going to be an Instagrammer, and that's it. Everything revolves around this world.
I mean, it's interesting for somebody that plans so much. You would think they would have a plan B for if things don't go right. That's crazy. Yeah.
They don't. They have a plan B as to what scenario they should do. If scenario street A doesn't work, they're going to go to street B. But that plan B is not the plan B I'm talking about. The plan B is what happens if things don't work out the way you are. You see, one of the things I find very simple and I find very concerning in young people today is that there is no concern about what's going to happen if I don't make it. Okay. In my case, I'll tell you a little bit about my story. I don't want to bore you with this, but look, I studied medicine I was from an American school. I didn't speak a single word of Spanish. Okay, my students know this, and I had to learn Spanish as I got into medical school. Okay, and after that, I studied economics, became a businessman, etc., etc. Why am I saying this to you? Because for me, there was always a plan B. If I don't become a doctor, I'm going to become something else. If I don't become something else, I'm going to become something else. This kept me going. It's a sense of survival, and that sense of survival doesn't exist today. If I don't become whatever, I'll do the easiest thing possible. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Our whole society is based on that. I always say one thing: 1% of the world is going to rule, and 99% is going to be ruled, and that percentage has changed drastically. It's we tend to be a 70-30%. 30% ruled and 70% 30% were ruling and 70% were ruled. Today we're heading to that 99-1%. Why? Because people have no concern. They're happy with that plan A. You know what I mean?
So I want to ask you, like, how do you yourself push yourself, to make that plan B, to push yourself against the odds or whatever, and accomplish?
Look, it's a sense of discipline. Okay, I wasn't born. I mean, didn't go through a teenage being like the way I am right now. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I had my same aspect like any teenager. Okay, as I grew, but I did realize I did enjoy studying. That is true. Something that not everyone enjoys studying. I did. Okay, so that wasn't a problem for me. But I think that's something you have inside you. Okay, but one of the things that you're going to see often in today's economy, so I would say economy, sorry about the use of economy with today's world, is that we're not disciplined anymore. We don't have a discipline in our lives. We don't want to be disciplined. Why should I be disciplined? What was that going to get me to? You can see it in two friends. I mean, two of my older students, one of them is the top CEO of a company. And this boy went through different stages, but we used to talk a lot. And the other one, who also talked a lot to me, continues to be in his own as he was before. What's the difference? I mean, people who are not too careful would say this is luck. There is no such thing as luck. I haven't met anyone who's lucky. Okay, you're lucky if you're walking down the street and a piano falls right next to you. That's being lucky. Or you're walking and then it's raining and then you decide whatever. That's lucky. But people who make it to the top, it's hard work. There is no such thing as this guy was lucky. Everyone who's to the top, make it to the top. I mean, maybe there's a very, very small percentage that they took advantage of different circumstances, but the rest of the people I know, got where they are through hard work, using the right people, through having this thrive of getting up and coming better time. Is he going to talk about? But truthfully, you're going to see something that I'm going to use economic indicators for you to see. Today's economy is much more indebted than what it was before. And you will say, why? It's because people are getting too much money. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It depends. If we have no plan of becoming better, and it is to blame that the society is lending us too much money so we can buy a better house, buy a better car, we're all indebted and nobody pays that debt. It's logical to see that why should I have plan B? Why should I be disciplined? I'm going to get up, do what I have to do and go home and that's it. There must be a way of actually organizing things, planning things, and considering where I want to be. Look, even right now with 54, I still think what I'm going to do next year. I'm looking into another master's right now. I have, if I'm not wrong, I have 3 masters. I have to think about it because I have a 4th one, which I don't know, somewhere I finished a small master's, an executive master. I have about 3 masters, a 4th one probably. I'm thinking about a 5th one. Is that necessary for my profession? No, because I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own businesses, but it helps me meeting new people. It helps me learning from better people. You learn every single day of your life. I mean, if you think you can go ahead in life and thinking, no, there's people can't teach me anything, you're very wrong. everyone teaches you something. You know, I talk to everyone. I socialize with everyone who I can, because each single person teaches you something. And we always learn, you know. My father used to say, you die even when you're dying, you know, you learn that, you know, you're going to die. So that's learning. Yeah. Tell me.
Yes. All right. Thank you for the information. I think we're nearing the end of the podcast, but there's this thing we always do at the end, and it's called a rapid fire round. So basically, this is like a competitive part of our podcast. Whoever we interview, we go through like 20 questions with them, and they're like supposed to be like super fast. So you're gonna have to answer them as fast as you possibly can, and we're gonna time you with the timer.
Fine, sounds good.
And then in the end, we have this leaderboard, and we're gonna put you up on a rank based on your time.
Thank you.
And we've also just we've been in talks, and we will have some type of prize or award for the winner at a certain time, because in our last podcast we were asked for some type of reward, so we'll have that.
There is
a cap. I put a second headphone on just to make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm gonna get the timer out.
Okay. And then don't forget to show the camera, so
evidence.
Amir doesn't knows that we're not cheating him on the
0-0. We're gonna begin.
Okay.
Okay. Wait. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. What was your GPA?
My GPA 4.
How many internships did you do?
Internships?
Yeah.
Can't remember. Many.
What is your least favorite subject?
My least favorite subject was physics.
Most favorite subject?
Anatomy.
Biggest achievement?
Having my own company.
Did you party a lot during uni?
Oh yeah.
Biggest inspiration?
Biggest inspiration?
Mm-hmm.
I would say a teacher I had. A teacher had made it to the top, and I followed his footsteps.
Favorite car?
Favorite car, I would say Aston Martin DB9.
Favorite piece of advice?
Hard work.
Favorite book?
Favorite book, Mice and Men.
Favorite hobby?
Paintball.
Do exams matter? Yes or no?
Yes.
Best investment?
My children.
Favorite movie?
Killing Fields.
Do you think crypto?
Yeah, sorry.
Do you think crypto is a bubble?
Pardon me?
Do you think crypto is a bubble?
Absolutely.
How many languages do you speak?
3 languages, and I understand 4th one.
Favorite luxury brand?
Favorite luxury brand, I would say Patek Philippe.
Did you ever cheat at university?
Did I ever cheat? Define cheat. Copy an exam? Copy an exam?
Yeah.
No.
Hard work or smart work?
Hard work.
Do you feel fulfilled?
No.
Okay, perfect. So that's
1 minute 57 seconds, sir.
This has to be one of the best times.
Yeah, you're the fastest.
Oh,
this has to be. Yeah, so you're gonna see yourself on the leaderboard when we start the podcast. So
thank you very much for this opportunity, guys. I really enjoyed it. I thought something would have probably not so, maybe a little bit more boring than this, but I have absolutely enjoyed it. You guys are great at what you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And we have one more question, Niels.
Yeah,
ask you.
One more question that we ask every single guest is just a very, very quick, simple. How do you get rich?
How do I get rich?
Yeah, how does one get rich?
Hard work, above all. Respecting the rules of the game, not cheating because it's going to hunt you down. Setting priorities, above all. And not being obsessed with money. Don't be obsessed with money, and you'll get there.
Well,
sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Both of you. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.